Hello, you're listening to Dodge It, a Pokemon Rewatch podcast. I'm Will.
I'm Bree.
This is episode 1.
Yay!
Yep. So today we're going to obviously be watching episode 1, Pokemon I Choose You.
It begins today.
Yes. It originally came out in Japan on April 1st, 1997, and in the United States, September 8th, 1998. I don't remember what I was doing in 1998. Do you?
I was 4.
Yeah. I was 3, so I was just about to turn 3. If you want more background on us, you can listen to episode 0. Basically what we're doing is we're gonna go watch the episode and then come back and kind of describe it to you and talk about it.
You get to hear someone who did not grow up with Pokemon go, what is happening right now?
If you want to watch along with us, this season is on Netflix, or at least most of it is. I know for sure at least this episode is, so you'll be able to watch along with us if you want to. With that out of the way, quick, dodge it. And we're back.
Hey everybody!
Alright.
All the feels.
Yes.
I've not seen this episode in a very long time. Oh my gosh, feels. Yeah. And I have notes.
Yep. It's been a while for me too. Like, I've seen it a good few times, but every time it just hits right in that nostalgia.
Oh yeah.
Basically, I think the plan is we just go pretty much blow by blow through the episode and talk about it as things come up.
And like I said, I have plenty of notes, which hopefully will help me with a few of these.
Yep. So we start off with, of course, the most iconic intro song in all of anime ever, at least. That's probably one of my favorite songs, period.
No, really, I couldn't tell, considering I've been hearing it almost every time since we started dating.
Yeah, it's frequently comes up in my shuffles and stuff like that.
But I do have a question. So, as Ash is watching that tournament, or whatever is on TV, there's a mint green ball.
Well, let's back up just a little bit, because I wanted to talk about, like, the very, very intro of it, because it starts off just like the games do, with the iconic Gengar versus Nidoran. When I had first seen this, I don't even remember the first time I saw this because I was so little. I can't imagine playing the games and then seeing that intro. The cut of it just going into a full-fledged anime is just so cool. And so it's a tournament where it shows a tournament where it's clearly it's the Gengar versus Nidoran, and after a horn attack that Gengar shouldn't even be worried about, it gets put to sleep by hypnosis, and then it cuts to a trainer who, if you've played the games, the silhouette is clearly meant to be Bruno of the Elite Four.
Is?
Yeah.
Huh, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. He's the big macho fighting type one from, you would have maybe fought him in Fire Red or Leaf Green.
I never got to Elite Four in either of those games.
That's fair. He's big martial arts guy. Because there was no official fighting gym, he represented, like, that path. But because there's only, like, 3 fighting Pokemon, he also had 2 Onyxes.
That's fair.
As for the ball that the Onyx was in, it's not one that I recognized.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I've seen a couple of the Pokeballs, and I'm like, I've never seen a mint green one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a thing for the show.
Probably.
They're starting it out.
Probably. It's not going to be very one-to-one on a lot of these things, I don't think. Especially early on while they're still figuring stuff out.
Oh, like we are.
Pretty much. So yeah, I don't know what that ball is or could be, because it doesn't look like any of the official Pokeballs.
Yeah.
And so next, it shows that it's being played on TV, and we're shown that our protagonist is Ash Ketchum.
Yes. And at 10, you guys, the way all get the Pokemon license, yet you gotta turn 18 to get a state ID, just to prove you're 18 years old, even though you look like you're much older. I speak from personal experience.
Yeah, there's clearly a difference in the way the world works in the Pokemon world.
Yes, because apparently you can be 10 years old and go out and face all these animals, but yet in this world you got to be 18 just to have a state ID or 16 to get your driver's license.
Yep.
No wonder people like the anime world much better.
Yep. So he's watching it and he's all excited to get his Pokemon tomorrow. And of course his mom comes in. And it's like, it's 11 o'clock, you need to be in bed because you need to sleep because you need to function tomorrow. And so he's saying he can't sleep because he's so excited. And so she's like, okay, fine, watch this educational thing instead. And it shows Professor Oak, and he's showing off the different starter Pokemon.
So, the most important question, dear listeners, who do you pick? Squirtle, Bulbasaur, or Charmander?
And Ash is like thinking over that and dreaming about it overnight to figure out who he's gonna do. And like noticeably they don't talk or anything in his dreams. They just sit there and look at him. Yeah.
Which is like, it's adorable, but it's also like, okay, well, could you say your name or something for those of us that may not have remembered the names right away? I mean, I can because I have a steel trap memory, but yeah.
Right. And then it's also, I'm noticing he's got like a lot of Pokemon merchandise around his room.
Yeah.
Like he's got like Zubat light hanger things. He's got a Poliwag pencil sharpener and all this stuff. The iconic Voltorb alarm clock that he ends up smashing later. I don't know. It's a little bit weird. He's lived in this world for 10 years. And like as a 10-year-old, he doesn't know much. But, like, at 10, and even younger than 10, you know what sounds animals make, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I haven't gone out and seen a bunch of stuff. Like, maybe I've been to the zoo once, but you see on TV and in books, you hear what different animals make. And, like, sure, the animals are different than Pokemon. I think you would catch on, hey, Pokemon just say their name.
Yeah, they would. Which I'll come to later when we talk about that whole thing of Pokemon only saying their name.
Right.
But we jump to Ash oversleeps, and I looked right at Will when that happened because he would if it wasn't for me.
I've been pretty good about that. I set my alarms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm more referring to when we first started dating, my love.
Yeah, I guess. He wakes up late and he has to rush out in his pajamas. He makes it all the way to the professor's house. I at least would always get dressed before I went anywhere.
This is true, and yes, and apparently there's cheerleaders for this Gary guy, and I'm like rolling my eyes because I'm like, really? You need cheerleaders? Come on. And apparently Gary is the grandson of Professor Oak.
Yeah, which is a parallel to the games. In them, the rival would be Blue, and Ash is the analog for Red, the player character. And so Blue would be your rival, but they don't call him Blue in this, they call him Gary. Like in the show, he's Professor Oak's grandson. But it goes a little bit differently, because Ash is like, he's like earnest about it, and he's like, hey, what Pokemon did you get? And Gary's like, he just brushes him off and is like, wouldn't you like to know? And he's just very rude about it.
And like, yes, Gary, we would like to know because we need to know how to defeat your butt.
But I guess we'll come back to that Pokemon later because he gets in the back of a convertible and gets driven off by a chauffeur or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Professor Oak shows up and he's like, oh, you decided to show up. Which, to be fair, he is late.
He is late, yes. So hopefully there's some Pokemon for him, right?
Yep. And so he does decide on his Pokemon, and he tries to pick Squirtle first, but there's no Squirtle. And then he decides, okay, second choice is Bulbasaur.
Nope.
And there's no Bulbasaur. And then he's like, okay, I'll settle for Charmander, which objectively feels like a weird choice to me, but... Because, like, you can find grass and water Pokemon pretty much everywhere, but fire Pokemon are special, especially starting out.
Yeah. So we try Charmander, doesn't work. So then he's like, isn't there anyone else you have? And Professor Oak's like, well, I do have this one. And Ash goes, I'll take it. So here comes this adorable little electric.
Yep.
And I love him. Yep. I love Pikachu. So cute.
In a little Pokeball marked with a lightning bolt.
Yes.
And so he's like, Professor Oak's like, I can give him to you, but this one's a little bit problematic.
And it's at that moment that Bree grinned.
Yep. Because as soon as Pikachu is let out of his Pokeball with a big flash of yellow light, he's like, he looks cutely for a second, and then completely zaps Ash.
Yes! So sassy.
Yep. It's definitely majorly sassy, especially starting out.
Yes, all the sass.
And so Ash is like, I forget what he says at this point. Before he says something, and then Professor Oak like reaches out and gets zapped too, but I forget what happens between them.
Oak is handing him the Pokédex and the starter Pokeballs, and Ash is taking it, and the minute Ash's hand goes on Professor Oak, that's when Pikachu's like, oh, another person I can shock.
Yep. And gets them both. And so then they
come outside.
Yep, they come outside.
Ash is met with his mom in the crowd of people, who I'm guessing is from the town, just to say, hey, congratulations, Ash.
Yep.
So his mom sees the little Pikachu and is like, oh, is that your Pokemon? And Ash is like, yeah. And she's like, well, isn't it supposed to be in its Pokeball? And Ash goes, oh, right. So he tries to get Pikachu in the Pokeball, and Pikachu's like, nope, not happening. Just bounces off his head, bounces off his tail, bounce, bounce, bounce. Nope. Doesn't want to be in a Pokeball. Rejected.
But his mom is like doting on him as he's getting ready to leave, and is like, press back to you, fresh jeans, fresh underwear, all your stuff in your backpack. It's very sweet.
I'm looking at Will because I'm the one that always packs things for him to make sure he has all of his things.
Yes.
Yes, he is good about making sure he has all of his things. But it does help to have a girlfriend that has a steel trap memory and knows, did you grab this? Did you grab this? Did you grab this?
Mm-hmm. And so she hands off all the things to him. Professor Oak is like coming out to see him off.
Well, then Ash is off with Pikachu because they gotta start their journey.
Right, but I forget what leads to Pikachu zapping everyone else too.
Ash picks up Pikachu. Because the Pokédex also says, well, some Pokemon just don't want to be in their ball, so Ash is like, okay, I'll just... So he picks him up, and that's when Pikachu decides, no touchy!
Yep.
And then shocks everybody.
Yep. So it zaps everyone, and then, of course, his mom's laying on the ground, and she's like, don't forget to change your underwear every day. Because she's all loopy from getting zapped.
Yep.
And so they head off.
And Pikachu is just not listening to Ash at all.
Yep. Professor Oak had made a comment about those rubber gloves will help you because rubber doesn't conduct electricity. And so he's got the big bright pink rubber gloves on, and he's got Pikachu tied up in the clothesline and dragging him behind him.
And the big pink gloves made me grin too because that reminds me of Dr. Crafty.
Yeah.
Which is also an amazing show if you guys ever want to catch it. Dr. Crafty, he's a great person.
Yep. And so he's dragging him along. He's like, are you going to be like this the whole way? Pikachu's like, yep.
Yep.
He's like little cute nods and Pikachu noises.
Yes.
He's like, and Ash, to his credit, makes an honest attempt to like, hey, do you want to be friends? We're doing this together.
And Pikachu's just like, I don't know you. I don't trust. I'm like, nope, I'm doing this my way. Which I can relate to. So watching Pikachu like this, I'm like, no, I'd be the same way. I'm like, all of a sudden, here's this human that wants to tame me and wants me to listen to him. Like, not happening, bud. You gotta earn my trust first, dude. Which leads us into, who's that Pokemon?
Oh, is that when it happens?
But yeah, because Ash and Pikachu are training, and they try to do the Pidgey, and that's what leads into Pikachu not listening.
Right. It's funny because, like, the Pokedex is saying, hey, Pidgeys are a good challenge for beginner trainers. They're supposed to be really easy, but it doesn't account for...
A stubborn Pikachu.
And then... For as much sass as Pikachu gives him, the Pokedex is giving him a lot of sass too, and you can tell like in the tone of it too. It's on purpose. It's really funny. He's like, usually you'll catch a Pokemon by having it battle yours, like with that exact tone of trying to. And
Ash is like, I can't. I have to do it all myself because my Pokemon won't listen to me.
Because Pikachu has run up a tree at this point and just does not want to listen to Ash. And so now we do get to who's that Pokemon?
Pikachu!
Yep.
Who's That Pokemon?
So yes, Pikachu is Who's That Pokemon for this episode.
Yes.
So I figured for this little section, we can talk a little bit about Pikachu, about the Pokemon that they center around, outside of the context of just the show. We can talk about like our personal experiences with them, what we think of them, stuff like that.
Pikachu is so cute.
Yes.
I love Pikachu so much.
Yes. The hard part about Pikachu is coming up with something to say that hasn't been said, the mascot of the entire series. Yes, it's very cute, very cuddly. Pokedex number 25, the Electric Mouse Pokemon. I remember I used Pikachu in one of my first playthroughs of Red or Blue, because of course Pikachu was the star of the show. It's like, of course I'm going to use Pikachu. It's the best.
Yeah.
So I think I had, when I messed around with the Missingno glitches and stuff, I had an eventual level 100 Pikachu.
Nice.
You probably don't have any context for that, but there's a glitch in the game where in the original games, where you can encounter this weird glitch Pokemon, and it multiplies the 6th item in your bag. So if you put rare candies there, it multiplies a bunch of rare candies. You level up your Pokemon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that was how I played it when I was younger. It's hard to include on a team nowadays, just because I feel like it's been done to death.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you nickname a Pikachu?
Sparky.
Sparky's good.
Maybe Cupcake.
Cupcake's also cute. I think I might have named mine Marshmallow or something.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
Yes.
Or maybe Thunder. Like, if it's a super serious Pikachu, then I'd be like Thunder.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Really just depends on the Pikachu's personality. Like, if I run into one and have to figure out what their personality is, then I'd be able to figure out a name.
Fair enough. Because it's the star of the series, it's got, like, the Gigantamax form, and has the Alolan Raichu form it can evolve into. I don't know. I don't really have a ton of stories about Pikachu, because the show is the story about Pikachu.
Pretty much.
So we'll get to see more. So let's get back into it.
Yep.
Alright, so we come back from Who's That Pokemon.
And Ash is just having the hardest time catching that Pidgey. He uses, like, one of his shirts that his mom packed to catch the Pidgey. Doesn't work. Pidgey just flies up with the shirt and just comes back down.
It gets him with a tornado from a gust attack and then a sand attack.
Yep.
The shirt is actually his pajama shirt that's all dirty and zapped.
That's true.
I hadn't noticed that before.
And Pikachu's just having the time of his life watching this human guy just struggle and just fail at catching this Pokemon.
Yep. So he tries to get him in the shirt and it doesn't work. And so he's frustrated.
So he makes the not-so-smart decision to start throwing rocks to get the Pidgey. I don't know what he thought he was going to accomplish with this, but apparently he thought this was going to help.
Well, it's not the worst idea in a certain thought, because you can, in the Savari Zone, you would throw rocks at Pokemon to get them easier to catch.
No.
And Pidgey would be weak to rock moves, because it's a flying type. And then he looks over and he sees that a Rattatas going through his bag.
Yeah, it's like the Rattata knew to go for the food. Why didn't you just toss like a piece of food at the Pokemon? Clearly you would know if you did research, Ash, that you could also use food to lure the Pokemon, or at least get it to trust you enough to go, hey, this person feeds me, so maybe I will travel with this person.
Yeah.
Sigh.
And then he, like, scares the Rattata off, and the Pokedex, once again, is like, Rattata, it lives in forests. And Ash is like, but this isn't a forest, this is an open field. And then the Pokedex is like, well, it comes out into open fields to steal food from stupid people. Yes. And it literally uses the word stupid, and he's like, Ash is like, wait a second.
Did you just insult me?
Yes.
And the Pokedex would go, yes. You would know that if you weren't stupid.
Yes. But he is 10. And it's important to try and remember that he is 10 years old during this.
I guess so.
Yeah. And so that we'll get into him being 10 later on when he's 10 for about 1,000 more episodes.
Oh, yeah. So, as he's throwing rocks, he ends up hitting Spiro. Heads of Spiro, who's not exactly too happy with having a red bump now on their head. So they call out after going after Pikachu because they're jealous of any Pokemon that has been trained by humans and trying to attack Ash. And when Pikachu almost falls out of a tree, he ends up shocking the Spiro, who then is upset and calls to his fellow Pidgeys, "Hey, help me out here."
Fellow Spiro.
Yep. I'm trying here.
I know.
Fellow Spiro to come and get the people who are hurting him. So Ash is like, "Oh boy, we should run." And Pikachu's looking up at him like, yeah, we need to run, you silly human. So they're running, and they get to the edge of a cliff where Ash is like, Spiro, water.
Well, first, Pikachu runs off ahead because Pikachu's faster, being a Pokemon. But the Spiro are even faster than that and are able to catch up. And they rough Pikachu up a good bit. Mm-hmm. And so then Ash gets over there and he, scoops him up. He's holding him and Pikachu's, really low on health and stuff. And is, clearly not doing good. And that's when they get to the cliff. And Ash is like, well, there's nowhere else to go. And he jumps over.
And does the first hat turn of the season.
Does the iconic turn his baseball cap around.
Then jumps into the water where we pan to... we learn later is Misty, who's just fishing, and she catches a wild Ash instead of a water Pokemon.
Yep. Which, there's a Gyarados in that lake right by Pallet Town, so it's a good thing she caught him instead.
Yeah. And of course, she's like, "Oh, you poor thing." And Ash is like, "I'm fine. I'm not talking to you." Misty's like, "I'm talking to the Pikachu. What's wrong with it? What did you do?" "I didn't do anything." "Well, go to the hospital place." "Well, where's that?" "That direction."
Yep. And then he steals her bike.
And he's like, "I'll give it back to you."
Someday.
Never gonna happen.
It might. Not this bike, but it might.
So anyway, the weather's not getting so great.
Yeah.
As the Spiro's chasing Ash and Pikachu in the bike, and Pikachu's just not doing good. Poor thing is just so weak and probably a little confused too. Why is this human risking his life for me? What is this concept?
Yeah.
So Ash is pedaling, and unfortunately, Spiro are still dive bombing him. And so does he get knocked off the bike by lightning first, or did the Spiro just attack him enough where he just falls off the bike?
I think it's just the Spiro eventually knock him off or make him have to stop. And so they get knocked to the ground, and he's like, "Okay, Pikachu, I know you don't like it in there, but you need to get in the Pokeball so I can protect you."
Yeah, and Pikachu's just so tired and "But I don't want to go in." But you can see on Pikachu's face, "I get it, but I won't really want to go in."
Mm-hmm. But then Ash doesn't even concern himself with that at that point. He leaves the Pokeball with Pikachu, and he turns around, and he puts himself in between them, and he spreads his arm out and is like, "No, you're going to hit me first. You're going to go through me first."
And the look on Pikachu's face is, "Okay, you risked everything for me. Now it's my turn to protect you." So,
and Ash goes on a pretty good speech about he's going to be a Pokemon master someday, and he's going to capture and defeat every single one of the Spiro. He's standing there ready to, give himself up, and so the Spiro don't get Pikachu.
And you see Pikachu, slowly get up and start climbing up Ash's back, up his legs, down, up his back, and jumps off his shoulder, which ends up being an iconic thing, too, in the series. I remember bits and pieces of that. And he gets hit by lightning, which makes his electric attack much stronger and just wipes everyone out of the sky. Unfortunately, including Ash and Pikachu get knocked back.
Yeah.
But they're at least okay. Little scruffed, but they're okay.
And so now the weather's all nice and clear, and they're sitting there face down on the ground, basically.
Yep. And Pikachu's just looking at Ash "Okay, I trust you now. I'll travel with you, and I'm going to start listening to you."
Yep. And so Ash gathers Pikachu up, and they're all, dirty and scruffed up and everything. And they look off into the distance, and they look into the sky, and they see this big golden bird Pokemon. And I'm curious if you recognize it.
Ho-Oh.
Yeah.
I remember Ho-Oh.
Yep. So, because this had come out so early, this was before Gen 2 had ever come out. So this is the first time anyone has ever seen Ho-Oh.
Nice.
Like, they made the games, like, maybe a year or two before, or they had come out a year or two before. So they were working on Gen 2. The Game Freak and Pokemon Company was. So they had Ho-Oh as, like, a concept, but the games hadn't come out. We wouldn't see them until Gold and Silver came out.
Yeah. Isn't there like a rumor going around that because Ho-Oh was seen by Ash, that's why Ash never ages? There's like some rumor that that's the joke that people make because Ash never ages.
That's a fan theory. We'll learn in the next episode that people that see Ho-Oh get their wishes granted or their dreams come true or whatever. And there's thoughts that because Ash had seen him, that's why he never gets any older and that's why he stays the same age. But I don't think they ever, like, confirm that or anything.
Okay. I just know there was, like, a rumor of that, and I thought it was funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of fan theories about it. Some fan theory that getting struck by lightning there puts him in a coma, and so the whole series is his dreaming.
Of course it is.
When we get to the Mewtwo movie, I'll revisit that, and we'll go a little bit deeper into that.
Nice.
Because that's where it kind of resolves or whatever.
Gotcha.
But until then, it's really just a fun fan theory creepypasta kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the end of the episode. He looks over the cliff. I think they're pretty much at what would be Viridian City. Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, Viridian City.
So they'll get to relax and refresh themselves and...
Yeah. I'm sure that's what will happen next episode.
Yes, totally, completely. Nothing else will ever happen.
Yep. And then the narrator is that narrator's voice is so iconic to me too.
It is. It's very iconic.
He's like, there's going to be a whole bunch of adventures along the way to see. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. So now we get to figure out the ratings for the episode.
Yep.
So we're going to rate the episodes by the 5 contest categories from the games. The categories are cute, cool, smart, tough, and beauty. So I guess we'll start with cute. Pretty much just how cute it was. I think cute was going to be, was like character development and stuff.
Well, there's a lot of character development with Pikachu and Ash. Like, they start off with, like, Ash is like, hey, you're my Pokemon now and you have to listen to me. And Pikachu's like, no, I don't. Mm-hmm. I do whatever I want.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's more character defining than development, but I think that counts as still pretty good.
Yeah, because you go from them, like, not really trusting each other 100% to, hey, we're a pretty good team. Mm-hmm. Let's keep working on it.
Yeah, I think that deserves a 5.
Yeah.
So, 5 for you, 5 for me. All right, next is cool. Basically, how fun it was.
Well, it's definitely fun watching Pikachu be sassy as heck and be like, nope, I'm not listening to you. I'm doing whatever I want. Mm-hmm. I'm just going with you because this professor Pokemon guy decided I'm going with you. So I'm like, fine.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. And it's definitely good, like, introduction to the world and everything. I don't know if it's, like, the coolest episode ever, but it's definitely up there. So I think I would give it a 4.
4.
We don't have to agree on these, by the way. If you think it's out of 5, I'm just letting you know. You don't have to give me a look. I just don't want us to have the same score for everything if it doesn't match up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next is smart, which I thought would be the category that focuses on, like, the plot parts, that everything makes sense. It's a good story cohesion. And for as much problems as I know this show is going to have later, I think this did pretty well.
Man, yeah, I understood everything, and I knew every Pokemon in this show, which was really good.
That's the cool thing, is that when they show you a Pokemon, they introduce you to the Pokemon.
Which is good, because I need to know these things.
Yep. I mean, that's how I learned about most of the Pokemon, for at least up until Gen 3. So 5 for each?
Yep.
Okay. Tough is for the battles, which I think this would be the one place where I think this episode is lacking.
Yeah, like, there's cool action stuff, like with Pikachu taking on the Spearow to protect Ash.
Right, but that's not really like
a battle. That's just protecting his person.
Yeah, and like when I think of a battle, I think of like a cool place where Ash and his Pokemon get to show off their strategy and competency, even if they pull something out of their butt about it.
And this didn't have any of that, really.
Yeah, the one move is Pikachu zapping people and then throwing out one move against the Spearows.
Yeah.
But there's no real thought or anything behind it. There's no choreography or anything like that.
Yeah. So, toughness for me is going to be the 3 because I liked how I'm a sucker for people protecting others that they care about.
That's fair. I think I'm going to give it a 2 just because I think my standard for this is going to be higher later on.
Gotcha.
All right, and then beauty, which is how it visually looked. It's definitely aged, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But for someone who did not grow up with the series, this episode catch my attention. That definitely for the aesthetics, because I'm aesthetically attracted to things, so I'm aesthetically pleasing. I found this aesthetically pleasing for me.
Yeah, they definitely didn't, cut corners or anything. Everything was, properly drawn, and there wasn't any
nothing looked like they just took a back seat to things. They took care to make it at least look very pleasing.
Right, no corners were cut or anything. Everything sounded good. There wasn't any animation errors or anything.
But with my standards being higher for aesthetics, I'm gonna say a 3.
Okay.
Not because I don't enjoy it, but because I know they could be better, which I know they will. As the series goes on, I'm sure their art style gets much different, and I'm going to like something a lot more than I do now.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give it 4 just because it's the first episode, and it's a really solid-looking first episode. Eventually, I'm going to set up a Google Sheet about this that'll be smart and give us averages and everything cool. To just summarize it, for cute, we both gave it a 5 out of 5. For cool, we both gave it a 4 out of 5. For smart, we both gave it a 5 out of 5. For tough, I gave it a 2 out of 5, and Bree gave it a 3 out of 5. And for beauty, I gave it a 4 out of 5, and Brianna gave it a 3 out of 5.
Yep.
But I think that is about it. Next time, the episode will be...
Episode 2.
Episode 2, Pokemon Emergency.
Da-da-da-da.
Which will introduce some more iconic characters.
Da-da-da-da.
Yes. I'm as much as I was looking forward to this one, I think I might be looking forward to this next one just as much.
Nice.
Yeah.
I get to see more Misty.
Yes. Definitely more Misty. Less Pikachu, I think, actually. But more of some other characters.
Okay.
Yes.
I can accept that.
Yes. We'll get some of lore established, and we'll go from there. We haven't come up with any exit or intro phrases just yet. I thought for a second we could do "We're Blasting Off Again," but I feel like
that's been done to death.
Yeah, that's the easy one. So I guess
be safe and have fun on your adventures, everybody.
Yep.
Don't go throwing rocks at animals unless you know it's going to work out and you'll catch them, but then you take good care of them. You do not throw rocks at Pokemon.
Yes. We do not condone throwing rocks at any animals, especially in real life.
Heck no.
All right. I guess we will see you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.